Mic on, heart loud, turn it up, cut the crowd, kick off the armor, drop all the spin, we're tearing the wallpaper off these walls we're in, truth in the crossfire, names in the dark. And call it a start. Talk hard. Say the thing that shakes your bones. Talk hard. Lead the questions through the tone. If it burns, if it breaks, if it cuts too far, turn it up. Don't turn away. Talk hard. Silence, sit in the heat. We're walking through landmines with both blistered feet. Laugh when it's heavy, cry when it lands. We're holding the headlines in scar-covered No script, no shield, just scars reveal. If you're tired of the masquerade, come and lay your monsters on the table. We won't look away. Won't look away.
This is a thief stealing my package. And so is this, and this.
This is not one of your regular thieves stealing packages videos.
And what these thieves don't know is that
But it is a little loud and echoey for you guys, I'm sure. Let me turn that down.
we've purposely set these packages up as bait.
Oh, what the fuck?
Package thieves are absolutely booming through this time of year, and they tend to ruin the holidays for so many people. So we've set up multiple bait packages all throughout the city at friends' houses and Airbnbs in hopes to find
What is that, Vegas? Was that Vegas or was that Phoenix maybe?
one person to track. And lucky for us, one of these criminals was dumb enough to take our package home.
What is in the packet?
Fuck, dude, what is that?
And we're gonna post everything in our front yard on Facebook Marketplace and give it all away to strangers for free.
Okay, so the tracker from our bait package sent us here. Sam's gonna go up to the door and confirm if they look like the suspects that got sent back to us.
I've never hated you more in my life, actually.
Why? Because I'm Mormon?
We all hate when they walk up to our door too.
That's fitting. We're doing an update on the Lego scandal, and dude is more. Yeah, it looked like Vegas. Yeah, dude is dressed as a Mormon.
Fair. Looks like he touches kids.
Yeah.
Okay, I need to find out if this woman is the one who stole our package.
Bro, this is not real.
Hey, Matt.
Why did we buy a bike? We should not answer.
Fuck. Nobody's home.
Fuck.
Attempt number 2. It's real good. I'm a little nervous now.
Why does he have a helmet on?
Oh my god, someone's here. Hi. Do you want to be a Mormon?
Do you want to be a Mormon? No. All right. Bye.
Bro.
Want to be a Mormon? No. All right. See ya.
He just leaving the bike? What happened? Was it her?
Yeah, it was
Wait, you should have fucking started with that.
As soon as she answered the door, I thought in my head, what do Mormons believe in?
Bro, bro.
I don't know what that echo that you're hearing right there in the car sometimes. I don't know what that is. It's not on my end. That's in the video.
What did you say?
I think what came out was, do you want to be a Mormon?
Are you dumb?
Okay, so after some thinking, we figured out that the only justifiable revenge is to take some of her stuff back. We're gonna have Johnny hop out of the car, take photos of everything in her front and side yards, and then we're gonna post them on Facebook Marketplace for free. I think this is one of our most genius ideas.
I don't know if that's exactly legal, you guys. I don't know if it's illegal, but it seems like it shouldn't be legal.
Yeah,
I know, seriously.
Here, you take this, strap up.
I'm scared. Am I just taking a picture of everything?
We're pulling him out.
I'm just scared.
Just call us when you're done, okay?
Call you?
Yeah.
Wait, you're leaving?
Yeah, I'm not gonna sit out front.
Oh, it's right here. It's right here. It's right here. You ready? Go.
Like everything.
Everything that could be sold.
Drive.
Go. Look, close the door. Bro, he's so screwed. What if she's doing the dishes, standing at the window,
Nacho.
and Johnny's sitting there taking pictures? You know Johnny's folding too.
That's pretty nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a
I don't recommend doing this to anybody, you guys. Because, all right, well, so somebody has to be responsible for theft, right? It can't necessarily be the person that posts the stuff for free. Isn't that weird, Matt? It happens sometimes. Who knows, buddy? Who knows? It happens sometimes. I've been watching channels for years, and then like I'll glance or whatever and be like, holy crap, how am I not subscribed to this? So the person who posts the packages for free on Facebook Marketplace didn't exactly steal them. And the person who walked up and takes them is doing it unwittingly. So I don't really know the legal ramifications and how it applies to anybody, but somebody has to be responsible for stolen crap, right?
Yeah, let's get pictures of this. Dude, this thing is sick.
Especially a bike.
Taking a picture of everything.
It's gonna give away plants.
Oh, the Christmas
Should have posted.
decorations.
They should have posted the door. See somebody go out there and take the door off the hinges.
Okay. She has no idea that I'm just outside her house.
I would think that it would be their.
Pictures of her
They would be
stuff.
responsible for it.
List on Facebook Market.
What is he doing?
And now that we posted everything on Facebook Marketplace, it's time to have strangers come by and pick up.
I'm sure it would be a misdemeanor, maybe like a criminal mischief or something like that, because it's kind of a prank. But I don't really know.
Their items.
Here is our first buyer. His name is Dennis. He messaged us saying, even decorations are free. We said, yep. And then he said, okay, I'll be there in 5 minutes.
Okay, he pulled up.
Oh, he's
here.
Oh, that's her boyfriend.
Oh no.
He's gonna beat our ass.
No, that's him.
It's him?
Yeah, it's Dennis.
Do you guys have a good shot of this?
Yeah.
You're just gonna take them. Walk up, take them, walk
This
away.
is so funny.
I would knock on the door. Personally, I would knock on the door. That seems suspicious as hell. It's not like they're sitting out on the curb with a little sign that says free, you know?
No way this works.
I think it's the best idea ever. I'm just so
funny.
That's good, dude. That's
No
good.
way.
She has no idea, too. It's such an easy grab.
He's just leaving.
Well,
One down. That is fucking nuts.
One down, baby.
That is nuts.
This guy's name is Lucas. He's coming for the bike. Of course. He messaged us saying, the bike's free, no catch. I said, yup.
Why are you so blunt?
And then I said, period, it needs to be within the next 10 minutes. He said, dope, see you soon.
I think this is Lucas.
This is crazy. No, this is definitely
Just parking in her driveway. Where is this lady? How does she not know?
Hello?
Hey, this is Lucas. I'm just calling about the bike.
Yeah, just pull into the driveway and then it should be on the left side of the house.
Okay, I did. So it's this red one right over here.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yep. Have a good one.
That's suspicious as hell, man. In Texas, you get shot for doing that.
Bye.
It is too easy.
I'm surprised you didn't bring a truck.
What if it doesn't fit?
Bigger bike.
Morning, Joe.
Oh shit.
Oh, okay.
This guy just took a bike. Just walked up and took a bike.
Shit, I don't know. It's so comfortable.
Dude, I'm like face to face with him. Oh my god, he probably saw us.
Hey!
Were those neighbors standing outside watching?
Hey!
These neighbors gotta be suspicious, right?
Hey! That's easy.
Yeah.
Well, bike down, right?
Yeah, they posted. So, Joe, I'll catch you up real quick. They posted this lady's stuff for free, like stuff just around her yard for free on Facebook Marketplace. And people are just walking up taking stuff.
Oh shit, Chick-fil-A's here.
Bro, she DoorDash Chick-fil-A.
Oh, dude. Those are like multiple bags. Why do I feel like she has like kids or something?
Because she had a little kid's bike. You just got a little kid's bike stolen.
Dude, this is awful.
Oh, yeah. They set up a bunch of fake packages to try and catch porch pirates. And she stole one of the fake packages. Now they're in their brand of vigilante justice. Justice is to have all her crap stolen. This seems like it is a crime. You intentionally ask, encourage, force someone to commit a crime. You can be charged and punished severely as the person who actually carried out the act. Okay, I thought maybe it might be criminal mischief or something, but
Okay, this person's coming for the doormat.
Yeah.
but she's guilty. Is she going to call the cops and press charges knowing that, well, she might not know that this is in retaliation. She might not know that this is in retaliation to her stealing that package. So she could call the cops. Everybody's going to jail. The Christmas doormat.
Yes.
She also asked about the pink glass and the shell thing on the front, right by the window.
The throw-in photos I added.
Yeah.
Oh, is this her right here?
Yeah.
Okay, actually, she stole your
Wait, would she roll up to your front door and steal a package while she was on a rascal?
package. You doing this video tour?
Fuck yeah, dude, I'm destroying Granny. What are you talking about, dude?
Is this her? Dude, this is not her, is it?
I just don't think she knows where the.
Shut up, dude.
So good.
Dude.
No, you can't. This, eye for an eye leaves everybody blind, right? Because I mean, if somebody kills a member of your family, that doesn't give you the right to go kill a member of their family. You know what I'm saying? Innocent agent or something. Gotcha.
Oh my god. Dude, she's right here.
She's going up.
She's gonna walk up and take the floor, freaking doormat.
Bro, shut up.
God. She took the bottle, the shell.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. This is
Bro,
insane.
this isn't fucking real.
Bro, shut up. She just took that.
She took 3 things.
Oh my god. Bro, we got the door.
I don't recommend doing anything in this video, but it is fun to watch.
Matt, I did not think we were gonna get that.
All right, it's been a couple hours. I am removing the ad.
Imagine we should leave it up for like months.
Oh my god, dude, everything's gone.
We have to confront her. I feel like you should pull up in the Mormon outfit again, start to finish.
Dear package thief, your bike, decorations, and doormat are no longer yours. Happy holidays.
That's a crazy
Wow.
line.
I'm knocking and I'm handing this to her. That's the plan right now.
Yep. Good luck.
Thanks. Don't leave.
Good luck.
Don't leave. I know you.
Good luck.
Yeah, so they're unwittingly getting, they're knowingly getting someone to commit a crime on their behalf, basically. What'd the note say? It's Nacho, it's just the TV. Nacho here to the doorbell and
Good luck.
Don't leave. I know you.
Good
what
luck.
the note say? There's nobody here, buddy.
Oh, dude, I don't think she's. I don't know if she's.
They're not gonna show the note.
I don't think she's
Nacho,
here.
it's just the TV.
Sam, we would have seen her leave.
I don't see her.
Would the note just say, ha ha, fuck you, bitch?
Well, that's that.
Alright.
Yo, Sam.
Oh, hey, no.
The Mormon is back. Why would you run away?
Okay.
Their friends are leaving. Their friends are running away. That's pretty funny. What's up, guys? Good morning, everybody. The electrician is done, and I can finally finish up the lighting and all the trim work and stuff that needs to get done around here. We have got some updates on the Lego scandal this morning. The first one I'm going to show you is from a guy named Coffeezilla. Link is in the description. If you don't know who this guy is, he's big. He's 5 million subscribers. He's probably the internet's best detective. He's an internet detective, and he actually brings up some really good points. He gets to the bottom of who actually stole, who is responsible, who actually stole the Legos. Let's get into it.
A $200,000 Lego collection went missing, causing a lot of you to ask me to find it. And after seeing the cops point guns at YouTubers, people get arrested and sued for $1.3 million, I decided enough was enough. This looks like a case for the internet detective, this time in the $10 million.
Is that what it is? I'm doing good, buddy. They sued Ben for $1.3 million. Is that all? Is that it? I feel like Ben's responsible for a lot more damage to the company than $1.3 million, right?
Lego studio. So I talked to every suspect involved. What I found shocked me. Okay, before we can find these missing Legos, let's give some background.
It absolutely
A massive
is.
Star Wars collection was put on consignment at a Lego store called Bricks Minifigs in Salem, Oregon. Consignment just means the owner, Brian Mansell, gave it to a store to sell, and he was supposed to get a cut when it sold. The entire time, he maintained ownership of the collection, and a social media post estimated it to be worth about $200,000. But then, on November 14th, 2024, everything went wrong. This was the night that Crystal and Ben Gorman, the prior franchise owners of the Salem store, got kicked out by this guy. That is Brandon Best. He and his partner, Josh Johnson, ran a sister store in Eugene, Oregon. And Brandon drove up that night to kick the Gormans out. Brandon and Josh would be taking over the franchise in Salem. And this is the exact moment the Legos go missing. As that store is getting handed over, the question is Brian's collection in it? Here's what the official Bricks Minifigs press release reads. Quote, after taking over the store, we discovered a small number of sets valued between $2,000 to $5,000 that could be possibly related to Mr. Mansell's collection. But there's a problem here.
$2,000 to $5,000.
Should be over 10 times that amount in this store, given their internal records and what we know the estimated value of this collection was. So if corporate's saying there was only $2,000 to $5,000 in the store, something happened to these Legos. But what? In order to solve this case, let's think about the suspects. First, who was there that night of the handover? It's only 3 people. Crystal and Ben Gorman, the former franchise owners, and Brandon Best, one of the new owners. These are our 3 biggest suspects, but they aren't the only ones. I want to address a few other suspects at the very start here. First of all, maybe this is just all the result of, plain old thieves breaking in. What about that possibility?
Hi, I am Chris. I was the previous franchise owner.
Oh my God, look at their kid. If I could imagine that she and he had a kid, this is exactly what I would imagine it would look like.
Who signed the collection agreement with Brian Mansell.
And I'm Benjamin Gorman. I am the silent partner who's really bad at being silent.
We did have a couple of break-ins at the store. None of Brian's collections were in the police report or stolen during
neck tattoo.
those.
Okay, so the Gormans say emphatically it wasn't thieves, but if that's the case, what about the guy who was arrested? I mentioned at the beginning of this video, Reckless Ben. This is the YouTuber who started it all. With a documentary, I tracked down the thief who stole $200,000 of Lego. Maybe it's the perfect crime. Make a video tracking yourself. Now, for our theory, it's worth noting Ben is currently facing a RICO lawsuit by Bricks Minifigs. He was even targeted with a search warrant for stolen Legos.
Included in the warrant are Legos.
The owner reported overhearing conversations about possible stolen Legos.
And on top of that, Reckless Ben was even accused of stealing the Legos by the current franchise owner.
I stole the Legos? What do you think of the theory that it was Reckless Ben? He stole the Legos.
It's absurd. We didn't even know Reckless Ben. He had no interaction, no relation to us, no relation to the store. That doesn't hold any water.
Yeah, when all that went down,
honest,
Ben wasn't even
to
in the
genius
picture.
cops in Utah who play different.
We play differently here.
But I don't believe that Reckless Ben stole the Lego, mostly because he couldn't. He just wasn't there that night, and I don't even think he knew about these Legos. But who does Ben suspect is holding the Legos since he did this whole documentary series?
The guy who runs the entire company, Ammon McNeff, he personally came out to talk to us.
So what's going on?
So you guys are holding some of our Legos?
No, we're not.
You're not?
No.
Is that a lie?
No.
That's a lie. You did take the Legos.
No. So we have our attorneys have visited, but again, so who's
he has yet to complete a sentence.
Brian Mansell.
Okay, and who is that?
He's a guy who had he had like $200,000 worth of Legos in your guys' store.
No.
Never happened.
Never happened.
My name is
Never happened.
Ammon McNeff. I am the CEO of the Bricks Minifigs brand.
So my name's Matt McNeff. I'm the COO of Bricks Minifigs.
The people you just saw are the McNeff brothers. They agreed to speak with me to try to clear their name. I asked them, do they have the Legos?
What I can tell you is that we don't have it. We've never had access to them.
It seems to kind of go missing. Parts of it seem to go missing on November 14th.
Well, and I guess no, not at all. I'm going to say, that is not accurate at all. Because
so you think that the collection was in the store at the time or elsewhere?
Elsewhere. When you look at Mansell's own words that he reiterated to a podcast last year, he explicitly stated to another podcaster, the sets were moved off-site for security.
The collection will not be stored on site after hours for security reasons, and after Sunday, the sets will be available for purchase but stored elsewhere.
Now,
Yeah, someone needs to it would be a really long video, but put all this stuff in a proper timeline, because that's what they did when they had issues. But then they went and bought some safes, right? To keep his Star Wars collection in safes so that they wouldn't be stolen. So they did say that they were being taken off site, but that was before all this went down.
One thing that's been a big subject of the Bricks and Minifigs kind of story is, hey, there are these off-site locations. Can you address what that is? Is that true?
So the off-site location in the letter that that corporate is referring to is the original press release that we released when we were launching the collection. In that press
Right.
release, because we had previous break-ins, I specifically included the location that after this weekend, those Legos would be stored off-site to deter any future thefts. They were briefly stored off-site after that launch weekend while I bought safes for the back room, and then they were moved back into the store.
Okay, so for most of the time, the sets were in the store after y'all got the safes in.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ammon McNeff suspects that a lot of the Legos weren't there that night. And then on the other hand, we just heard from Crystal and Ben Gorman explaining the off-site story, saying that later they no longer used those off-site locations. But what do we really know about the Gormans? They are the former franchise owners after all. I mean, shouldn't we be suspicious of everyone? They're one of our key suspects. They were there the night we lost Brian's collection. They were the creators of the consignment deal after all. And one group in particular is pointing their finger at them very hard. It's the McNeffs who say they were behind on payments.
We started getting calls from the landlord letting us know that
Of course.
Crystal was
if you're gonna
behind on the lease payments at the local.
If you're gonna blame it on somebody, if you're gonna morning, Johnny, if you're gonna throw somebody under the bus, why not make it the person who no longer is even in the country, let alone has anything to do with the company anymore?
We had also gotten a couple of notices from some of our vendor partners that bills had not been paid by the store.
Although, something that I don't think I've heard anybody mention, if they're going to throw the Gormans under the bus, then wouldn't their accusation that Ben stole the Legos be fraudulent? Wouldn't that be fraudulent if they've already determined that the Gormans had stole the collection?
And so we felt pretty strongly that there was going to be a risk of her just, attempting to file bankruptcy, doing some of these other types of things, which we've had franchisees do in the past, and that's problematic. So that's why we sent him up there to take some video footage. So we needed to just be prepared if we needed to do a hostile takeover, which, can happen in franchising, where a franchise owner just, kind of tries to steal inventory and do some different things that way.
Okay, so Bricks and Minifigs' story is that they were worried about the Gormans skipping town, so they sent Brandon Best as a secret shopper on October 24th, 2024. This is weeks before the takeover. Brandon takes a video of the store condition in preparation for this handover, but at this point, Brandon does not announce himself to Crystal Gorman. Later, though, on November 14th, once again, the same concern about the Gormans stealing or theft was expressed by the McNeffs.
Brandon was trying to make sure that they weren't taking things from the store, and so he was kind of trying to make sure that he wasn't putting things, hiding things in the back, and that and while he was watching that, trying to make sure Ben wasn't grabbing stuff from the store and moving it or doing anything along those lines, because he just got a weird feeling about the whole transition.
She took at least one, if not more than one, cartfuls of things out to her car with her coat draped over it.
So yeah, the McNeffs say, look, they don't trust the Gormans. And they explained it, even further. They said, hey, there's some issues in her past.
She apparently has a retail theft and other criminal arrests on her record that we were not aware of.
When was that?
I don't know. This has been brought out by several people online now.
Now look, that's a huge accusation to bring up.
That's a pretty big accusation.
Obviously, I wanted to talk to the Gormans about it. They're like, she has a history of some type of burglary, theft.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah, that's what they're
saying.
Yeah.
Oh.
Nope.
Well, yes.
Well,
you know about this.
Explain.
Yeah, when I was 19 years old.
So what? She got shoplifting when she was 19, and they're like, "Oh, it's a history of theft." Come on, man.
How long ago is that?
I am 45 now. So this was in 1999.
Couple of
this something that happened 25.
Oh my God, they're gonna start humping. The dogs are gonna start humping. Oh God. Please have your kids close their eyes, you guys.
5 years ago has no reflection
That would be so
and no
funny.
bearing on what happened in the last 2 years, my management of the store, what happened the night corporate sees
Wouldn't that be classic?
the store. It is another deflection, and it infuriates me. You're gonna try to publicly embarrass and shame me for something that was manipulated by local police departments when she was pregnant and 19 years old. you. That's my response to that. I am so sorry. You're going to have to blur and cut a lot of this, but that pisses me off. I own what I have done. I own the mistakes that I have made. You cannot intimidate and bully me into backing down when I know that legally and morally I am in the right and I have the evidence to back it up.
Wow, this is getting kind of nasty and personal at this point, and I just wanted to give people kind of their side. But at every turn, I hope you understand, I'm getting contradictory stories, down to if the McNeffs knew about her history in the first place.
Like, they're bringing up something that I told them about.
Wait, you told them?
Told them. They asked me.
They said they had no idea. They said if we knew, we would have never hired her.
Yeah. See, that you have to do a background search on people before you give them a franchise, you guys. And
because we would not have hired her had we known this.
I told them I had a record from when I was 18. There was a family issue that, and didn't go into all of the details, but they were like, that's so long ago. We're going to hire you based on who you are now.
Okay. And there is statutory limits on stuff like that. There is statutory limits on stuff like that.
I'm just going to leave it there.
I did stuff when I was a kid. Thank God they don't hold it against me today.
You guys can make up your own mind. My point is, one side says up, the other says down, and it gets to the point both sides start hinting that they have photographic proof from the night of November 14th that proves the other side is lying. And so I'm like, look, at this point, let's stop talking. Show me the Legos.
Where I was told we are 100% have possession of photos that prove that the Gormans are lying. And then you guys are telling me we 100% have possession of photos that prove this side's lying. Who's going to drop the photos first? I mean, I feel like someone just has to, somebody's right here.
After a lot of convincing, both sides agreed to show me the photos, corporate and the Gormans. In fact, I scheduled the calls to do this an hour apart from each other. But let's remember their positions for a second.
Yeah, I imagine to put all this together, he had to talk to them and then talk to them and then call them back and talk to them and tell them what they said. And then call them back and tell them what they said. You know what I'm saying? To be able to piece all this together.
And say whatever was left unsold of Brian's collection that was in that store spreadsheet was in Salem store the night of November 14th.
He does get to the bottom of this, you guys. He does get to the bottom of this. I did watch this just because I like Coffeezilla. If you're not subbed to him, you absolutely should be.
Then you have corporate side. They say whatever was left that night was maybe $2,000 to $5,000 of Legos. The rest was either stolen by thieves, the Gormans, or held off site. It was not in that store. And on both sides, there's a lot to lose here, right? You've got the Gormans, who basically have been insinuated to have been stealing. And for Josh and Brandon, too, the new franchise owners, there's a lot on the line. I reached out to Josh, and he told me, I think her pictures would only show a few sets and minifigs. I replied, so if I can prove that the Lego sets were in the store, that will prove Brandon was lying. Josh replies, if it shows something different, then yes, I will eat my words. So
Josh has a tendency to do that. Josh has a tendency to say, oh, I'll give stuff back and then not give it back. Or I will admit that I was wrong and then not admit he was wrong. And, you know, he has a tendency to do that. Josh is kind of shady in that sense.
Have been established. And let's see the evidence, starting with Matt McNeff. First, he showed me the video, October 24, 2024, for a baseline of how the store looked.
So this is the Salem Kaiser location, is that correct?
It's the Salem Kaiser location, yes.
So is it fair to say I'm seeing quite a few Legos here? I mean, I'm seeing a store of Legos. You'd agree?
There's a good amount of Lego on hand. This isn't what I would say is a well-stocked Bricks and Minifigs, but it's not terrible. It's I'd say a little below average as far as overall stock. So now let's go to November 14th. Can you still see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So November 14th, when Brandon was in there helping.
Wait, this is the day. This is like the big day.
This is the day.
Hold on, I gotta prep myself emotionally for this.
Okay.
This is a big deal. This is D-Day. This is the big moment. This is Brandon takes over the store. We don't know where the Legos are after this moment.
We don't know where the Legos are after this moment. And I want to point out again that we
This is the COF. The guy with the curly mustache, or COO. This is the guy with the curly mustache. This is his brother.
Had this for a while. We haven't this is the first time we've shown this publicly. We've been waiting for our attorneys to give us the approval to say, hey, this is okay now to share in this capacity. So we'll go through these pictures. This is what Josh saw, or not Josh, sorry, Brandon saw. He took pictures of everything in the store, all the inventory in the store. This is what the shelves looked like.
It's very deceiving what he's saying right now.
Compared to what you just saw a moment ago.
Okay, so I'm seeing a lot less. Just to state the obvious, go back a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm seeing like way less.
So yeah, the pictures I was being shown on November 14th, those shelves looked emptier than they did on the day of October 24th. But to be fair to the Gormans, they addressed the empty shelves themselves.
As we get to the very end of this video in particular, right here, you'll see that empty space right here. So this is the retired and certified set section that we have to keep.
It's a special section for sets that are no longer available. And that's why there's empty spots. It's not always going to be full of inventory if they don't have the inventory to fill the section. This is a special section, not just a regular, store shelf.
Keep separate from the new in box current sets being sold by Lego. All those empty spaces up there were the sets that we had on display during the day from Brian's collection that every night when the store closed, we pulled off and put back into the safe.
Okay, so that's fair. So basically, yeah, because when Brandon Best took over the store and kicked them out of the store, it was after closing hours when the Mansell's Star Wars collection would have been put back in the safe. Yeah.
And then put back out in the morning.
So when they say, see, there's empty space on the shelves, yeah, because we put them in safes at night to keep them safe.
Because we have giant windows.
Yeah, it's an explanation that kind of makes sense given the history of burglary. Now, of course, this is something I had to ask the McNeffs about.
Is this a case of...
No, that's a pen. I got him. We got him. That's a pen.
Did y'all see Star Wars sets in the back?
Sorry.
Did y'all not see the Star Wars sets in the back? Did he take, not in the back, but specifically in a safe? Like there were a bunch of Star Wars sets in a safe. Did Brandon see those? Has there been talk of those? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. My understanding is that he took pictures of everything, and all those photos I showed you of the Star Wars were all the photos, was literally all the Star Wars inventory in the store.
Yeah, the McNeffs say all of the photos should be with Brandon of all the Star Wars items. And to be fair to them, they showed me a lot more pictures and even showed me a spreadsheet of all the Star Wars sets in the store the night Brandon took it over. And it valued to about like $5,000 to $10,000 or so. But then I had to ask.
Oh, sorry, here's another kind of set.
Okay.
Do you think y'all have all of these?
Very likely.
Okay.
I did not hear that.
Again, I'd be surprised if we didn't.
But then I couldn't help myself. I started to bring up some of Crystal's photos to see if they matched up.
Have you seen this before?
Not that I recall.
So do you see that?
Yep.
So do you see...
That's clearly a safe. That is clearly a safe. It looks pretty beat up. They must have gotten it used. Maybe that's the camera, but that looks pretty beat up. But those are clearly Star Wars sets in a safe.
It's in like some kind of like a safe thing. I don't know if you can see the sides there.
Looks like a bookshelf to me, but sure.
Looks like a bookshelf?
Yeah.
Come on.
So I think the important thing is making sure that all of these are in the
Come on, that's clearly made of steel.
For Mansell.
I'm pretty sure that's a magnet right there. This might be a magnetic safe.
Sure. Sure. That's cool.
75041.
Yep. The Vulture Droid.
75169.
169 I'm not seeing, so there may be... Okay, so there's one that is not on our list.
There's one.
Let's try this. 10240.
Okay, nope, not seeing that one either.
What about 9493?
3. I don't see that one either. So maybe those were locked at the time, and Brandon did not get those pictures.
Thanks,
All right,
John.
That's kind of a problem because the Gormans had over 200 photos of this store. I definitely knew looking at these photos, there's a lot more Legos in the Gormans photos by quite a lot that Brandon's photos just didn't show. But corporate didn't really see it that way.
But still, in the grand scheme of things, we're not talking, again, 10 times the amount of sets here.
I don't know. I haven't shown all the photos yet. I don't know exactly how much.
If there's a calculable figure that we can look at and say, great, this is what was there, I promise you it's not $100,000 worth of Lego. And so where's the rest of it? You got me. I don't know.
Maybe I'm a little too in my head about this U-Haul story. You don't think it could have been some U-Haul thing? There's no way.
Oh, yeah. Have we talked about the U-Haul
The
yet?
U-Haul? The U-Haul is the smoking gun, isn't it?
To talk about the U-Haul for a second. This is another one of those things that was like really disputed between the two parties, was this U-Haul that supposedly was driven up to the store the night of the takeover.
So when Brandon came to the store that night, he was driving a U-Haul truck.
Now, in typical fashion, this was immediately disputed.
Brandon showed up to the Salem store in a rental car. When he came to get the keys from Crystal, he was there in a rental car, not in a U-Haul.
It wasn't until...
Right. We've established that the Gormans said he had a U-Haul, and that corporate said he was in a red car, a rental car, yes.
After he told me he was taking the keys and locking me out, that I really kind of paid attention to the fact that he had a large, not the small, the large U-Haul truck.
So yeah, I just kept hearing about this U-Haul truck. Now, why is it significant, U-Haul or not? Well, one, a U-Haul truck can fit a lot of Legos, but the big reason it mattered to me was because I was actually called by an ex-employee of the Bricks Minifigs store in Eugene, Oregon.
Now, the Eugene, Oregon store is the one that's owned by, or owned and operated by Josh Johnson and Brandon Best.
Remember, that's the one that Brandon and Josh owned. And he told me something very interesting.
I'm a former employee, started in 2024, and I was working under the old manager, Brian, and he sold the store to Brandon Best and Josh.
What store was this? Bricks and Minifigs where? Okay, now what did you see that made you want to talk to me?
I saw Reckless Ben's YouTube video about the Salem's for closing down because when I was talking to my co-workers about the situation about Salem, and when we were told through other employees that it was just a bad area to work in, it was like haunted, if you will, is what was going around. But after seeing the video of Reckless Ben, he exposed them, and it makes a lot more sense with what we dealt with Brandon and Josh.
Now, it should be really easy to figure out how many people have a voice like that. You should be able to figure out which employee it was spilling the beans pretty quick, I would think.
Like, Crystal stole Lego sets and bolted out of the country.
Who says that?
Brandon Best told us. When he was dropping off all the Lego sets to us that night.
Oh.
It was a bunch of used sets that felt like saran wrap. They had Star Wars City. Just a lot of stuff. It was like in a medium-sized U-Haul truck.
Damn. Wait, they brought a U-Haul truck.
Yeah, from Salem, going to Eugene.
And to Eugene, and it had a bunch of Star Wars sets on it?
Yeah, Star Wars sets, like everything. A bunch of used stuff too.
Wait, was this when they took over the store from Crystal?
Welcome in, buddy.
Yes, because he said that Crystal stole Legos and left the country.
While he has a U-Haul of Legos?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Weird.
So then he said, we're just going to hold on to this stuff.
We're going to I'm holding it for a friend.
And we're like, well, it'd make more sense if we could take it because we're kind of struggling with, the product we put on the shelves.
Oh my gosh. We really got to find out. Was there a U-Haul that night or not? Because everybody's disagreeing about it. This Eugene, Oregon guy says, oh yeah, a U-Haul showed up with Star Wars sets in it. Brandon was talking about the Salem store. You've got Matt McNeff saying there was no U-Haul there. It was a rental car. You've got Crystal saying, yeah, I thought it was really weird. There was a U-Haul truck there. So I told the McNeffs, I really got to find out what the truth is here.
If you know anything about it, let me know, because that's just something I heard.
I do, and it has nothing to do with the Salem store. Well, at least not the Salem store in the way that it is there.
It sure sounds like it has something to do with the Salem store. Is it me? Because it sounds, yeah, right? It sounds like it has a lot to do with the Salem store. In fact, it sounds like it has everything to do with the Salem store.
Brandon showed up to the Salem store in a rental car. When he came to get the keys from Crystal, he was there in a rental car, not in a U-Haul.
So when there was the handoff, there wasn't a U-Haul, it was a rental car.
Zack attack.
He was there in a rental car.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think any of the, like, if you were to look at the footage, the ring cameras, all that stuff, you won't see a U-Haul sitting anywhere in the parking lot.
So after hearing all of this, I realized, look, I just got to find the evidence. So I start sifting through these photos I have, right?
This is what makes Coffeezilla so good at what he does, you guys.
I realize I have a parking lot photo. I check it.
Right.
No U-Haul, just a red truck out there. I check another photo where you can see the window, but the problem is it's night outside, so you can't see. And so I'm looking at everything I can, and there's just nothing, And I have this alternate angle. I'm looking at that, and then
boom!
Wait a minute.
Oh, boosh! Boosh! That's a U-Haul. My hands. That's a U-Haul right there.
Zoom in on that photo. Bring up the brightness of this photo a little bit, and my gosh, there's a U-Haul in the parking lot right outside of the store the night of November 14th,
Go truck yourself!
2024. This is something that Matt said he had seen footage of, and it couldn't be true.
And again, I believe I have seen footage from that night that shows clearly out into the parking lot, and there's no U-Haul.
After seeing this, I said, I really have to make a call. And that's when the story changed.
So last night, I talked with Matt McNeff. I brought up this question of the U-Haul. He told me emphatically there was no U-Haul. Y'all came to me this morning. You said, hey, we looked into it. There actually was a U-Haul there that night. Can you clear up what that's about?
So there's...
yeah, there was a U-Haul. We said there wasn't a U-Haul, but there was a U-Haul, but it wasn't for that.
Actually, two different things that are going on here, just to help you understand.
Yeah, some people are telling the truth. Some people are lying. That's what's going. Those are the two things.
and I don't know if...
Head PE.
If you want this particularly not on the record, but we do know of a disgruntled former employee that worked at another location that back on the 24th of October, there was a U-Haul that went to a storage unit in Salem.
It is.
For another previous franchisee, for a different situation that we had just... gone through some things, and he had a previously, hey, I have some inventory that I didn't turn over that I was supposed to. It's at this storage location. You guys can come pick it up. And so Brandon was sent on that day to pick up with a U-Haul inventory that then he moved down, but that was October 24th.
So when we're talking about this ex-employee, you're saying they are conflating the October 24th event of the U-Haul coming up to Eugene with Legos with some time after November 14th, after the store takeover. Is that correct? Am I understanding that?
Yes.
He did not seem real sure about that answer.
So this is now kind of a strange story. Corporate is saying there was a U-Haul.
I didn't even know that was the case.
Store dropping off Lego, but that was from a different night, different collection. The CEO says Brandon showed up to Salem on October.
Well, and the employee said that it was stuff to the employee said that Brandon Best said it was stuff from Salem. He said it was stuff from Salem. And corporate is now saying, oh, that was not Salem. It was a different store. But Brandon said Salem to the employees.
24th for his secret shopper job with Crystal. And separately, he also was getting a different collection of Legos that also included Star Wars. And that's what he brought to the Eugene store and the former employee is remembering. Then, weeks later, on November 14th, Brandon supposedly shows up again with a U-Haul, but the reason isn't for hauling Legos.
Brandon flew in to Eugene that night. At midnight. So on the flew from Utah on the 13th, but landed in Oregon on like midnight of the 14th. Went and got a rental truck, and then went and stayed at a trailer that had previously been moved up there in anticipation, meaning a camper trailer, in anticipation of the potential hostile takeover previously.
Is that why he had a U-Haul? Is that the reason he had a U-Haul was for this camper, or what's going on with the?
Yes. So then what happens is he takes his rental vehicle truck, and he tries to connect the trailer, the camping trailer, to that truck, and it's not rated for that particular weight, and he realized, oh crap. He called around and found that U-Haul had a rating for one of their box trucks, and so he grabbed that, went and got it at 10 a.m. on the 14th, and so he then went and hooked that trailer up to the camping trailer to a U-Haul, drove that trailer down to another location where he could set up the camping trailer in Salem, dropped off the camper trailer, and then he arrived in a U-Haul to the Salem store, and then went in, said hi to Crystal, and then as she was leaving, the door shuts, and so he locks it, calls the locksmith, takes him a while to finish up the...
I totally get he apologizes for all the cuts. I mean, you guys have seen this guy talk. It takes him a half an hour to spit out a full sentence.
The changing of the locks. Brandon at this point is pretty exhausted, so and he has an hour drive back to Eugene to drop off the rental truck. So he drops it off at midnight or 1 o'clock, something like that, grabs the rental truck, and then heads back up to the camper trailer in Salem, and then probably gets in at around 2 or 3 in the morning, spends a couple of that's a little bit of sleep before he has to head back to the store at 9 a.m. before the other employees get there. The timeline that is trying to be portrayed just makes absolutely zero sense.
Okay, so I asked, obviously, for documentation of all of this from Brandon. And here's what I got. First, the U-Haul contract on November 14th. This checks out what we already know. Then I got sent a photo, the last one Brandon took in the Salem store, dated 9:44 p.m., where you can see what looks like the inside of a bird cage that the Gormans had. And
I remember there being something about birds, but I haven't seen any birds.
Lastly, I was sent a photo Brandon took of the mileage in the U-Haul as he dropped it back off at the rental place on November 15th, 12:41 a.m. Now, the time gap there is about 3 hours between the last photo in Salem to dropping the U-Haul off, which is a bit of a problem for our timeline.
Yeah, it took like 4 hours. I mean, I worked till like 11 o'clock, and I'm like, I gotta get up early for, my other job.
You moved 4 hours of Legos out of this truck.
Yeah.
That doesn't add up. I feel like boxes of Legos aren't that heavy in a store like this. I mean, I feel like I could unload a U-Haul of Legos in like an hour. Right?
All right. So as weird as this U-Haul thing is, the timeline just doesn't fit, to be honest. If it took 4 hours to unload, you can't also...
Maybe he's a millennial. Maybe he's a millennial. I don't know.
Drive to another city, load and unload, and drop off the U-Haul in that time. But still, even if this is true, it's pretty weird. And it's one of the most bizarre stories I've ever heard, to have a U-Haul thing back to back. One of the times you're picking up Legos, the other time you're not, you're taking a camper. Nevertheless, without more proof, we kind of have to move on to another theory of how to find these missing Lego. This time, let's take the photographs that we have and reconstruct what was in the night on November 14th. Remember, that's the moment we lost the Lego. And this time, we're going to combine it with two more things. First, from corporate, I got the point of sale records from the Salem store from 2023 to 2024. And secondly, from Crystal Gorman, I got her internal records of Brian's inventory of what was sold or not in order to pay him and keep track of prices. Now, before we piece things together, I need to address something. At the beginning of this story, you saw the social post saying this collection was worth $200,000. That's what everyone knows this story as, the $200,000 Lego collection. But sadly, that post was entirely wrong. In Crystal Gorman's inventory,
they inflated it because for marketing purposes. $200,000, a bigger number is more likely to get more people through the door. It's a marketing gimmick,
which has a high and low estimate value of these various Lego items. The real estimated value is about $107,000. They give high estimates and low estimates, but that's right there in the middle. And for simplicity, I'll just be using averages.
Well, and the more there is, the more likely you are to go see, the more likely you are to find something that you're looking for versus like if I said, hey, I've got 3 or 4 Lego sets for sale, you might want, there's a 25% chance, 35% chance that you might want one. But if you said I have 100 Legos for sale, there's more of a chance that you're going to find something that you want. It's a marketing gimmick. Welcome in, B, the one you love.
Estimates here, but understand that, these numbers are not firm, given that they're unsold Legos. It's just rough possibilities. But the point is, it's worth nowhere near $200,000. And Reckless Ben, the one who made the original video covering this, said that surprised him.
Yeah, this entire time, literally every single person's been telling me there were $200,000. Like, that's how much, you could sell all these sets for.
My original assessment of about $200,000 was going up to his father's house and looking in 3 different rooms with all the sets.
Yeah,
it was before I'd actually
it was a
gone through
guesstimate,
and
then she
numbers
kept it
and done an
inflated.
actual evaluation. I looked at it and went based on as things progressed and as I started to delve more into the actual inventory and evaluating it, that number changed. But we put out the press release well in advance of the event itself, so that press release went out before I had those full numbers. So we went, this is a nice even number that will grab attention and bring people into the store, so we went with that.
Yep.
And to believe that is accurate at the high end. Like, it was one of those things where when she was looking through and going, well, it says this and it says this, like, you don't think even at the high end?
You haven't actually seen the spreadsheet.
No, I haven't.
You might want to cut that part out because he hasn't actually seen the inventory sheet.
The spreadsheet says about for between 85,000 to 120 something thousand. In the midpoint about 107 or something like that of what was inventory. Does that sound right to you?
Yeah.
Again, something is only worth what someone's willing to pay for it. It's an estimate. You got to estimate what you think it might go for on eBay,
Yeah, so this has been a really big point of misinformation to clear up, because if we're ever going to find the missing Lego, we need to start with the right number, the right value. It's about $107,000. Now, between 2023 and 2024...
And I trust Coffeezilla. I trust his numbers. He's got a team of people working for him, you guys. They probably went through the inventory list and it went on eBay and was like, oh, this one sold for this amount in an auction. And again, it's only worth what someone's willing to pay for it. So the winning bid in an auction is the only way, in my opinion, that you can evaluate what the collection is worth. Exactly, Wilson.
Gorman's record sales of about $24,000 of Brian's collection in their inventory tracking list. And of those sales, Brian was entitled to about 65 to 70% of it. He was paid $17,000, which roughly tracks with that. Which means on November 14th, the big night, the remaining amount of Brian's collection that should have been in there is about $82,000. Now, it doesn't take a genius to realize this is a very different number than corporate provided, who found only $2,000 to $5,000.
I'm gonna grab a cup of coffee, you guys. I've seen this, so I'm gonna let you keep watching here.
To Brian, and later they said they only found $13,000 to $15,000 in total Lego Star Wars.
So you're talking maybe $11,000 to $15,000 total Star Wars, and that's all Star Wars inventory in the whole store.
So that's corporate side of the story, but I didn't want to take their word for it. So I went through Crystal's photos myself, which she shared with me, and hired people to go through and hand tag the Star Wars Legos that were in these photos. We looked through over 200 plus photos, multiple videos, and matched what we saw with Brian's collection. In the end, I ended up with about $21,000 of Legos matching Brian's collection that can be proven to be in the store on the night of November 14th. Now, to state the obvious, that's about 3 to 5 times what corporate estimated, at least on their press release. Now, yes, there are inherent errors in these estimates. Maybe we picked up some Lego that matched Brian's collection, but wasn't Brian's. But even though this is a bigger number than corporate said, I have to admit, even with pretty generous assumptions being made, there's still a huge gap of about $61,000 here that I just couldn't find. But then I learned Brian had made a special side deal with M&R Productions, who had recently purchased some Legos from him. And this is where it starts to get messy. So these are the pictures that M&R Productions sent me, looking at the Lego that Brian sold him. This was stuff reportedly in storage, and it's interesting because of an early inventory list, which had a column called Location that Crystal used. And it listed a lot of the Star Wars items as being located in what they called storage. Now, previously, I was told that all of the stuff in storage was put back in the store, but there's a bunch that's on this list that I can't find in the store that seem to appear in these pictures. Now, I've been assured, by the way, that most of these Legos were not part of the inventory spreadsheet. They were never given to Bricks Minifigs. This is a separate part of the collection.
I almost feel like he should have done this segment before the U-Haul segment, because he's saying there's a lot that he can't find. And that would then tie into the U-Haul and loading the U-Haul full of Legos and taking all that shit to another store. You know what I'm saying? I feel like he should have done this segment before the U-Haul segment.
But I did a check, and 100% of the items that match the Brian collection inventory just so happen to be listed with a location of storage. So this starts to make things incredibly fuzzy, and I'm inclined to believe that a lot of these are part of that same inventory list. Now, if we take that value of the side deal, that's about $10,000 to $20,000 that's not actually missing. Now, it was at this point I started looking more at the point of sales records. I realized maybe we could find some of this missing Lego there too. So this is from the Salem internal store records. Like, I guess this is what is entered when someone does a sale, and it's everything from September 2023 to November 2024 of Star Wars anything. And by the way, before we continue, yes, this was all a lot of work. If you want to, please support us on Patreon. That's how this show gets made. But anyways, according to those records, about $51,000 in sales went through during this time period in a way that matched Brian Mansell's collection. Now, that really worried me because Crystal's inventory list showed only $24,000 in sales for Brian.
Yeah. Oh, I think this is where he starts getting into the layaway. Man, this is such a sloppy way to do business, you guys. So
and Brian
sloppy.
was only paid for that amount. But suddenly, I remembered back to a time when I spoke to Crystal, and I asked how much was sold prior to the takeover.
Which is something similar from what you told me, Crystal.
Yeah.
You told me, hey, it was about 50-something thousand.
Yeah.
But Brian was only paid 17,000.
Okay.
And it should have been about double that. And I'm just trying to make sense of that, given that everyone's accusing each other of theft right now. You understand?
I mean, without seeing any of those records, without seeing those individual tickets, I can't answer that any better.
Okay, this is kind of a problem. The math ain't math in here. 65 to 70% of 50,000 is almost double what we believe Brian was paid. And digging into the details, it turns out a lot of these sales come from what Crystal's spreadsheet actually categorizes as layaways, meaning they were marked as having been sold, but layaways are when someone puts a down payment on an item and later pays it off. But the problem was there were a lot of these, worth about $20,000 in layaway, and that felt a little strange to me. And because of that, I asked Josh Johnson, the incoming owner, and he responded, quote, there were 2 to 3 items on layaway when they took over.
So on the list of that on the inventory list, do you know about how many layaways
I
there
haven't
were?
gone through and done a count, but I know it was vastly more than 2 to 3.
It was about 98.
That makes sense.
98 Lego sets on layaway, you guys. 98.
So there were about $15,000 to $25,000 worth of sets on layaway.
I mean, that is the amount that the numbers were off. That would explain that, though.
Okay.
That's just the part that's surprising. That's the part that I can't get my head around. I go, how could, let me just be really honest. I don't believe there was that much layaway. I don't know. I don't know how that's possible. How could there be that much layaway? I don't know. It's like.
Yeah, they weren't released to a customer. Correct.
It's like, I don't believe, because I was talking to some people about Bricks and Minifigs. They go, yeah, there's some layaway. There's not that much layaway. I talked to people who were neutral, kind of on corporate side, but also people who were just normal Bricks and Minifigs people. They say there's not that much layaway. Help me understand why there's $20,000 worth of layaway here.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely. If you talk to other Bricks and Minifigs locations, layaway is extremely rare. I think outside of the Brian's collection,
Okay, good. I'm not crazy here. So then why was there so much layaway there?
No, absolutely not. Outside of Brian's collection, I think at the time we maybe had 2 used sets on layaway outside of his collection.
Okay.
It was not a common thing traditionally. I don't know that we'd ever done layaway before the collection came in. With Brian's collection, it was a little bit different because so much of this collection were new in box, all in one place, reasonably priced, and a lot of the harder to find items. And so customers would come in and put, I'm gonna guess probably half of those layaway items were not gonna be sold to the person who took them on layaway, because we had several that would put them on layaway and then change their mind. So
it's such a sloppy way to do business, you guys. I mean, especially nowadays when it's so easy to get that, like those you walk in anywhere and get those like Affirm or whatever where you can break it down over 4 payments. It's a much better way to do business nowadays.
this was something like, somebody would come in and want 10 different sets, but only be able to buy 1. Can I put the rest of those on layaway so you don't sell them? I'll pay.
Do they do that?
$10.
Does Walmart do layaway?
Put these sets on layaway. Traditionally with layaway, we would ask for 10% down. They'd have 30 days to make their next payment, or we'd refund the layaway amount and then put it back on the shelf. Because this collection was the collection it was, and I wanted to give these people the opportunity to, to get these sets, we were a lot more generous with how long and the amount of payments that people could make towards the layaway. So a lot of these, we had several of them. I think one of the Ewok villages, we put on layaway 4 different times, and then it came off of layaway and back on layaway and then off and then sold. So a lot of these would have gone on and off of layaway and then back out on the shelf, just depending on the person who was putting it on layaway. That was completely unique to this collection.
So look, I'll be honest, I don't trust Josh Johnson, but something is weird here.
Yeah.
So a lot of these are, look at this. It says POS final sale price, but it's listed as a layaway, but it's sold for $5.99.
Yeah.
Because it matches with the store sale price.
Okay.
So were they on layaway? Were they accidentally marked layaway on the spreadsheet? What's going on there?
I mean, without seeing the actual sales ticket and seeing what else, what items were sold together, what else was sold with it, I can't actually see the sales ticket. We had several layaway items in which customers were putting multiple things on layaway, paying for most of one item, and then, or they were buying, 8 different things together, and then putting all of them on layaway and making payments on multiple items at the same time.
That's such a bad way to do business, you guys, because I mean, you're hurting your business. I'm going to take 8 of these rare or expensive Star Wars sets off the shelf and put them aside for you. And that's it's such a sketchy way of doing business, man.
Same time.
It just seems irresponsible. I guess that's what I'm saying. It seems very irresponsible.
Our Ewok Village was one of those cases. At some point, he had, I think, like 8 or 9 different items on layaway.
At the same time.
So they'd come in and make a payment for a bulk payment. You know, I've got 800 things on layaway. I'm going to make $100 on my payment.
Right.
One customer in particular would do that, and then when he'd gotten up high enough to pay for one set, we'd pull that set out, mark it as sold. So without seeing the actual tickets and my layaway records, I cannot answer a question any clearer than that.
But I even found more than that in this POS data. I also found about $10,000 in sales that match Brian's collection that were not marked as sold under this inventory spreadsheet.
Some of our things that were not found were explained by the POS system because they were found in the POS system as being sold. So like they weren't marked on the spreadsheet, but they were marked as sold via the POS system. And this is
this is Coffeezilla doing his research, man.
About $10,000 worth of
Joe.
Lego that basically were matched.
Huh. See, and I don't know. Take anything happening from, let's see, sorry, I'm trying to do math here. I don't know without being able to see all of the records. There is a possibility that the consignments were ended when I wasn't at work and I just didn't go through and pull them up. They didn't get
These two don't strike me as maybe the most savvy entrepreneurs. It might have sold while I wasn't there, and then I didn't know about. How do you not know what's going on at your store?
Put in the consignment ticket. I hadn't gone through those consignments in a couple of months. I hadn't gone through the inventory in the back room in a couple of months. So it is entirely possible there were sales that were finished that I never clocked as being finished. I don't know that without going through and actually seeing it.
But you're saying it's possible stuff was sold, not updated on this inventory list.
It's entirely possible that stuff did not get updated on my spreadsheet. They're
not criminal masterminds. They're not even masterminds.
I'm going to sit here and claim it's not possible. It's possible I missed things.
So where does this leave us? I know some people are jumping to conclusions here, but I must remind you that on the night of November 14th, 2024, Crystal Gorman was concerned about Brian getting paid or not getting paid.
He has not been paid his percentage yet. And if I don't have the tickets, I won't know how much I need to pay him.
And that does back up what she was just saying. So even though what she was just saying seemed sketchy, it might have been, at the end of the day, it was just an irresponsible way of doing business is all. Device, what's up, buddy? It's just liar.
So ultimately,
hi, Liz.
That's a business thing and not necessarily yours. Brandon will take, it's taking on the business, he takes on all that consignment.
So obviously, one could see that and say she was intending to reconcile with Brian. Maybe she hadn't gotten around to it. And of course, corporate will probably take a more cynical view of what she's doing by printing these receipts. But the point is, regardless of whose side you're on, I think we can all agree there's a lot of weird stuff here on all sides. Abnormal stuff. Sure, maybe you can chalk some of this up to bad record keeping between the U-Haul, the layaways, the $20,000 in Lego sets that corporate called $2,000 to $5,000 that was there that night, the off-book deals. But even if we can't fully know 100%, what these weird things were about, I think they tell a story of what actually happened to Brian's collection. In a way, multiple people, I think, are kind of right, kind of wrong. The Gormans were correct that more of that collection was there that night of the takeover than previously thought. But corporate also alleged that some of it was offsite, and that appears to be partly true, although some of that is disputed, and it looks like, way more of the collection was sold and layawayed than Brian was paid for. But all in all, there's a lot less missing than many people think, especially if your starting number is $200,000. I estimated, and I must emphasize, estimated with bad records, that there's only about $10,000 to $20,000 in Lego that isn't explained by one of these sources. This isn't to say Brian's been fully compensated. Much of this Brian wasn't paid for that I know of. So I estimate he's still out about $50,000 to $83,000 for Lego.
That actually sounds about right to me. I think they said that he's gotten 17,000, and what the number we started at was 107. So that actually sounds about right, give or take.
Wasn't compensated for. And I think, honestly, that's something that Bricks and Minifigs obviously should handle and make right. Regardless of what a franchisee does, the new one, the old one, the company behind it must stand behind their product, their service, and I can't imagine a better example of a company doing the opposite. Unfortunately, Bricks and Minifigs has chosen to deflect and dodge responsibility at most opportunities and created a really awful customer experience that has snowballed into this crazy series of events. But instead of taking accountability for that, they've taken an aggressive legal strategy, which I told them personally was a horrible idea. Yeah. As of writing this, Brian Mansell is being sued for $1.3 million as part of a legal
I thought it was Ben for defamation
campaign against him and Reckless Ben and any of the associates. Remember, Brian is the same guy who lost all these Legos at Bricks and Minifigs store. And I told the CEO and COO that's ridiculous and they should drop this. Look, mistakes have been made by plenty of people here, but there's a lot more people who have inflicted.
See, and that's only $300,000. He's only being sued for defamation for $300,000 because what he has done seems like it has cost them a lot more, cost corporate a lot more than $300,000. It just in bad press. I mean, their company is going to be, I'm curious to find out 6 months, a year from now, what this $400 million company is worth. You know what I mean? It's going to be half that.
Did self-own.
Just ask Bud Light and Target.
The likes of which we've rarely seen by just choosing the worst possible path at every fork in the road. No pun intended. But the best path to making things right, in my view, is by just making Brian whole and moving on.
See, now I think everybody will agree with that. Corporate, it seems like they evaluate their options and they choose the worst one every single time. We wouldn't even be talking about this if corporate had just said, all right, look, we're going to give you $50,000. We don't know what happened. It's all, you know, we don't know what happened, or even $100,000. You're sacrificing a $400 million company over $100,000. It's just ridiculous.
Drop the aggressive legal strategy. You are a Lego store at the end of the day. You are supposed to be about fun, not about a rerun of Suits. But anyways, that's my investigation. Those are my closing thoughts. And I knew I wanted to approach everyone involved in this whole story with my results and see what they thought to close things out. Does all that make sense to you? Because I'm showing everyone in this story and saying, hey,
the thing
are any of these numbers blowing your mind, or is any of this crazy to you?
No, it's not crazy. But what's crazy to me, again, like all the photo evidence that both sides have points to there being $20,000 worth of Lego of Star Wars Lego in the store that night.
Whoa! Didn't they say publicly it was 5 to 7? Now it's 20. These guys can't get their story straight. These guys can't even get their story close to straight.
Right? I don't know, man. I'm just like, can people understand maybe why there was some confusion and why there was some hesitation when somebody comes in and says, hey, you owe me $60,000 worth of product and Lego, and we go, we don't even know who you are. Like, yeah, Crystal mentioned something about consignment.
But they did know. She even said, there was a whole conversation on video of her saying this guy has all this stuff in consignment and he hasn't been paid yet. They did know.
On her way out the door. And we go, sure, we'll get that figured out.
And it wasn't on her way out the door. It was on her way getting kicked out the door. You didn't even give her 5 minutes to go through the tickets.
And the guy just walks in and demands $60,000 worth of Lego. What am I supposed to do other than say,
you're supposed to do your job? That's what you're supposed to do.
hey, cool, show me, can you show me the proof?
The problem is there's so much of a dispute on the timeline, and this is what's going to make this story so hard to tell, is like, they say you guys are unreasonable. They tried, and eventually they gave up. But they say they tried it. They were basically met with like unreasonable requests, things like that. So
verification, documentation, is that unreasonable? Do you think?
You know what? Just the mustache alone makes you guilty. But that's not enough. Everybody has been throwing documentation in these people's faces. And how many times have we seen video of them going, nope, I don't want it, or nope, that didn't happen? I mean, how many times can you possibly throw documentation at somebody and then they go, all we want is documentation?
Well, I think they would say they provided the documentation, and you guys say you need more documentation. So I mean, that's kind of the
right. A spread, like, I understand a spreadsheet and a contract are a good start.
Yeah.
What else? What else do you want?
But we never got that. That was never sent to us at corporate, by the way.
Y'all do have the spreadsheet though, yeah? Y'all have the spreadsheet.
That was shared online, but months after we asked for it.
It says I'm so confused. It says I'm on the file right now. It says storage used, owned by BAM Franchising Inc. Owner Salem.or bricksandminifigs.com.
What are you looking at?
It says owner Salem.or at bricksandminifigs.com. That's you guys. It says owned by BAM Franchising Inc. It says created September 6, 2024. And when I look at it,
he's doing this live right in front of Mustache Man.
The Mansell list, I believe.
So this would have been created under we have the
y'all definitely have this. Y'all have access to this.
Gotcha.
Well, I had no idea. So if this is the first that anybody has shown me.
This is the documentation, and it was formed by your company.
That a spreadsheet was created using like Bricks and Minifigs Salem, and all of this stuff was archived. This is the first I've seen.
Dude, it takes him a half an hour to spit out a full sentence. I swear to God.
That this spreadsheet was created by Crystal. And we don't know how accurate it is, how up to date it was. We don't know a lot of those types of things. And understand, I appreciate you sharing this with us because we had no idea. Again, you don't know what you don't know. And you can't, we don't know everything. And we don't go, looking in every nook and cranny everywhere.
You absolutely should. As soon as this hit your doorstep, you absolutely should have put people on figuring it out.
We just don't know some of those things. So if that's there, we can now have our team go look for that.
When it comes right down to it, they're going to have to make a judgment call and say, who's telling the truth? The people who were taking all the pictures and say, and we couldn't take pictures of everything the night of, but we're being honest consistently, and the people who are saying, there was $5,000 there. Really? That makes no sense. We've got the evidence, and yes, there's a discrepancy. We acknowledge we did not take pictures of everything, but does that mean that the discrepancy is, and therefore these missing, percentage, whatever that would be, 5%, is some magical other place? Or it was sitting there in the store and we didn't get pictures of it.
If I messed up,
explanation.
If I messed up on my record keeping, I will take accountability for it.
And to be fair, I'm 100% sure that she's not the best record keeper. Just say it. Corporate license for the software.
For that. Mm-hmm. It's possible. If my staff didn't draw attention that consignments had left out, so I'd move them to the thing. Any of that, I will take accountability to that. I am more than willing to do that. I need BAM to show me those tickets.
As they promised to do.
I will sit down with Brian and talk this over and figure out what we missed and where it was missed and how it was missed and make that right with him.
I mean, that's new information no one's ever found out, so that's awesome. They're gonna lose hundreds of millions of dollars because of their own wrongdoing. They're literally gonna destroy their entire company because they're this stubborn over maybe $20,000 worth of Lego.
Yep.
Sure, I'll be keeping you in the loop with what
Nice. I'm excited. This was
Swirling.
good work. My other final thoughts is, dude, you solved it, dude. It's awesome.
Yeah. The Josh and what's his name, Brandon, got fired over $1 million in damages. I think that the damages are a lot more than $1 million. I'm telling you right now. I believe that that company was valued at 400 million. It's gonna be a lot less than $1 million shy of that by the time this is all said and done. He's not even allowed to talk about Bricks and Minifig. And I mean, he shouldn't have to be told that. I think it's in his best interest just to let it all play out for now. Everybody's suing everybody. Oh my God. Well, guys, we are about to watch something from a lawyer, and it looks like this is Legal Bytes. It looks like Bricks, the CEO, kind of torched the defamation suit. Let's check this out. It looks like the defamation suit against Ben, maybe all said and done. They have a way of looking at their options and picking the worst possible one. And once again, it looks like they did just that.
It's likely to cost him and the other plaintiffs big. Let's get into it. Okay, so starting out, let's back up and make sure that we're all on the same page here about this whole controversy. According to the lawsuit and Reckless Ben's videos, it all started with an aging collector named Eric Mansell, who had a massive Star Wars Lego collection. When it was decided that it was time to sell the collection, it was Eric's son, Brian Mansell, who took everything to a Bricks and Minifigs store in Kaiser, Oregon. Back then, that store was run by a franchisee named Crystal Law Gorman and her husband, Benjamin Gorman. At this time, Brian and Crystal entered into a written consignment agreement around November 2023. This is basically where the store sells your stuff and pays you the proceeds minus its cut. And under that agreement, the Gorman's store started selling pieces of that collection.
Ready to introduce you to
that
this
is a lot.
amazing
Look at all
collection.
those Star Wars. Did you see all those Star Wars Legos? Holy crap. The whole store is Star Wars.
When it was decided
Legos.
that it was time to sell the collection.
Hang on, let me find it. Watch this. Watch this.
To introduce you to this
Star Wars.
amazing
Star
collection.
Wars. Star Wars.
Everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked.
Wait a minute, that's not right. What I meant to say is everything changed when the store changed hands. Why corporate took it over and handed it to new franchise co-owners is in dispute with its own lawsuit, but essentially this appears to have been a messy turnover. Bricks and Minifigs corporate and the new owners say that they had no notice of the consignment agreement, which they also call unauthorized. Both points I am personally skeptical of, by the way. But because of that, they say that they acquired the store's assets free and clear. That's their argument anyway. However, according to the complaint in this lawsuit, Brian quickly came asking for his remaining Lego collection items or his money compensating him for those items. He allegedly told them that he had not been paid money for some sales that had been made, and according to the
you see his little head pop out? Little guy.
Complaint, the new co-owners were skeptical of this whole arrangement and the money owed and asked for documentation proving it. And the complaint also alleges that Brian later returned with the police claiming that these guys had stolen from him. But when he did, the co-owners told the police that they were unaware of and not parties to any consignment agreement and did not knowingly possess any of his alleged property. But
which
you know,
we know
I
is
don't
wrong.
know why any of that would be the case when there's security footage of the takeover that had already happened by this point, where Crystal tells Brandon, one of the new co-owners, to his face, both that there's this consignment.
Who's dad? Mansell's dad? Practicing law without. Oh, yeah.
Agreement that exists, and that she needs to print documents to keep track of money that she owes Mansell for some sales.
Fine.
Sorry about here.
Wait a minute, guys. I just got $1 million idea. $1 million idea. You know those games that Goldie likes to play. What if someone made a Bricks and Minifigs simulator where you open up the store, right, and you screw people out of money to win the game? the more money you can screw your customers out of, that's how you win the game. That would be a great game, and it actually might be you might be able to get away with that legally. Do it. Goldie's like, I'm gonna play it next week. You actually might be able to get away with that legally if you market it as satire, because if you can get Bricks and Minifig to be like, oh, that's ridiculous to think that we would screw customers out of their money, then they can't. It's legal. It's called parody. It's parody laws.
So that what she's printing off is previous records from cells, just so she has a receipt of what's due on this, right?
Yeah, otherwise I won't know. These are ones that he has not been paid his percentage yet. And if I don't have the tickets, I won't know how much I need to pay him.
Okay. So Crystal ultimately.
Okay, so let's clarify something. This is Brandon Best right here, okay? But the person talking right now is someone named Kai from corporate, and he is on speakerphone. At the beginning of this, there was some confusion of, is this Kai or is this Brandon? This is Brandon here, but the voice that you're hearing is the speakerphone from corporate.
Also, that's a business thing and not necessarily yours. Brandon will take, because taking on the business, he takes on all that kind of stuff.
Anyway, Brian also says at one point in the series that he talked to some lawyers about suing to get compensated for the collection, but it went nowhere. And the reason for that is because of the cost of legal representation. And I know that there are a lot of lawyers who have been commenting on this case, and they've been really, really critical of all of the people involved here for not pulling in lawyers into this controversy as early as possible. And honestly, I do agree that a lot of the chaos of the situation could have been reduced or even eliminated had lawyers been involved at an earlier stage. But there's an unfortunate reality that Brian Mansell mentions in the series, which is that lawyers can be insanely expensive. And according to Mansell, the Bricks and Minifix guys threatened to weaponize the legal system to drain him dry for trying to enforce this agreement. So I don't blame him for being kind of terrified.
I would think that in itself is against the law. To threaten somebody into not suing you, I would think is against the law.
Of actually having lawyers get involved. Not everyone is in a position to be able to throw money at a legal situation, and this does result sometimes in things ending up like this. So while, yeah, I agree that lawyers would have really helped here, I also don't want to be overly critical given the sensitivity of the cost, especially when Brian is already looking at a situation where it looks like he's owed tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars as it is. And so Brian did what a desperate person might do. He turned to a YouTuber. And so that YouTuber that he eventually linked up with was Reckless Ben. And listen, Ben did not hold back. He filmed his investigation into this controversy, and in his finished video, he hammered Bricks and Minifigs again and again, saying that they stole this collection from an elderly man and that the corporate executives, the new franchise owners, and the local police were all in on it.
This man spent his life collecting what's now known as the world's largest Lego Star Wars collection ever. It's estimated to be worth around $200,000. And then the entire thing got stolen, and the police are actively working with the thieves to cover the entire thing up. It seems like they're just rubbing it in this family's face that they stole the world's largest Lego Star Wars collection in the world, and they got away with it. Caught the CEO of the entire company red-handed in a lie. Yeah, it's crazy to me that even the CEO is in on this cover-up. And now the tagline's actually accurate. Also added a cute little company logo. And this is my plan. I made a website, and you can visit us at www.westealfromoldpeople.com. You can help support us by buying some of our We Steal From Old People merch, or give us a call. But as you can see, we have great reviews. And so now to promote this website, I'm gonna put my company logo directly over top of the Bricks and Minifigs company logo. So
can I just say how ridiculous and gross and disgusting cute company logos are? Can I just say that?
ChatGPT, what the dimensions of this billboard is? Sick. I'm making my logo with the exact same dimensions.
Yes, dude! Oh my god, it looks exactly the same.
Let's be clear, that was not 3 foot by 10 foot.
And we did it.
Those guys are enormous.
And the sign is way too small. What the heck, ChatGPT? early today, so
Are you
basically
guys gonna be open tomorrow though?
I don't know. So there's been some guy like harassing us because well, a lot of the Legos that we sell here are actually stolen Legos. Like we just steal the Legos.
Yeah.
Anyways, we ended up getting the rest of the court papers served.
We ready?
Why are we watching this?
Hello.
I am.
There we go.
Brian.
I'm going to forward
Topics
through.
concerning celebrities and social media influencers.
Okay.
Defamation. Now, before we can go over the specifics of these defamation claims in this particular lawsuit, we first need to understand generally what a plaintiff needs to prove in order to win on a defamation claim in Utah. And there, in order to win on a defamation claim, the plaintiff has to prove 5 essential elements. First, the plaintiff has to show that the defendant made a false statement of fact about the plaintiff. Second, the plaintiff has to show that the defendant made that false statement to at least one third party. Third, the plaintiff also has to show that the statement that the defendant made about the plaintiff didn't fall under some particular privilege. Utah lists a number of privileges that it recognizes, so it can't fall into one of these. We will get more into detail about this in a bit because it's pretty relevant. Anyway, fourth is that the plaintiff has to show that the defendant made this statement with a particular mindset, either negligence or actual malice. Now, in order to figure out which one of the two that the plaintiff has to show, we first need to look at who the plaintiff is. Specifically, are they a public figure or are they a private person? If
they're private. They're private. It's a privately owned company. It's not publicly traded. I don't know if that matters. But it would also be a private person because he's not a celebrity, right?
the plaintiff is a public figure, the plaintiff has to prove actual malice. This means that the plaintiff has to show that not only did the defendant lie about them or make a false statement about them, but that they knew that what they were saying was false, or that they were reckless as to the truth or falsity of the statement. Recklessness in this context basically means that the defendant knew that there was a pretty good likelihood that what they were saying was false, but that they went ahead and said it anyway. It's worth stressing here that actual malice is a really, really high burden for the plaintiff to overcome, and generally speaking, the odds don't favor the plaintiff. That, of course, can depend on the actual statement itself. And
yeah, it's really hard to prove that, okay, Ben intentionally destroyed my company. Did he? Or did he, it's easy for Ben to say, hey, man, I went to the guy's office to give him an out. I didn't want to destroy his company. I wanted to get Brian his money. You know what I'm saying? So that would be really hard to prove.
Circumstances around it, but generally speaking, that's the case. And this is because under an actual malice standard, all the defendant needs to do in order to prevent the plaintiff from showing actual malice is to provide from the defense some kind of reasonable logic and evidence that they relied on in making their statement.
Right.
For example, if a newspaper runs a story about a woman who says that she was assaulted by some celebrity, it is next to impossible to sue that defamation successfully for defamation for running the story if they publish the article like right after interviewing the woman and getting basic verification of her credibility, even if it turns out that she actually lied to the publication. Now, if the plaintiff is not a public figure, but instead a private citizen, then they only need to show negligence. This is a much lower standard where the plaintiff just
scratch everything I just said.
Needs to show that the defendant wasn't as careful as they should have been in talking about the plaintiff. Negligence is usually what we're talking about with car accidents, for example. If the defendant just didn't look over their shoulder before changing lanes, they ended up hitting the plaintiff while they were trying to change lanes, that's negligence. Anyway, the fifth and final element here is that the plaintiff also generally has to show damages. In other words, that they were harmed by the statement, reputationally, financially harmed. That is, of course, unless we're talking about defamation per se. And the plaintiffs in this case have alleged both defamation and defamation per se. Defamation per se is where the defendant's statement falls under one of a number of categories of statements that are considered to be like so bad that the law just assumes the reputational harm follows. These are things like the defendant saying that the plaintiff has a loathsome disease, quote unquote. Think like STDs and that kind of thing. Or in other categories where the defense claims that the plaintiff did something illegal. So where we're talking about a statement where the defendant alleges that the plaintiff stole something from someone else, that certainly would count under the illegal category. Okay, so we just ran through all of these elements really quickly, but I want to turn back to the element of falsity of the statement for just a moment. It's exactly what it sounds like. If what the defendant said isn't true, then it's not defamation. So because of that, truth is a complete defense to defamation. This is widely accepted across
Right. Okay. So what? It's only defamation if it's not true. Okay. If they actually did steal the Legos, then it's not defamation. You follow me? So I don't think that Ben can get sued for defamation, number one, until it goes to court. Until the whole theft thing gets resolved, right?
Jurisdictions in the US. And the Utah Supreme Court has reinforced that on this point alone, a defamation case can be dismissed. And the thing is, what courts will actually look for here is whether the defendant's statement is substantially true. This means that the statement doesn't necessarily need to be completely true on every tiny detail, just that the main gist of it is correct as anyone would understand the statement. Hold on to that idea because it's going to matter a lot later on.
Awesome.
So let's apply these elements to this case really quickly. We'll go out of order, but that's just because I want to focus in on some of these more than others. Some of them are easy to meet. Others require more explanation. First off, element number 2 is easy. These statements were made in viral videos on YouTube, and so many third parties heard what Reckless Ben had to say. Right. Second, the statements that he made involved claiming that Bricks Minifigs and all of these guys on that side of the story basically are part of this criminal enterprise to steal these Lego sets and to use the police in order to buffer the theft. This is definitely going to fall pretty easily into the defamation per se category, and so that means that they don't actually need to prove damages for their defamation per se claim. But now they also alleged regular defamation, and in that case, it would probably be pretty easy to show reputational and financial impact on Bricks and Minifigs and all of these guys just from the backlash that they've been getting alone. So that leaves us with the second, third, and fourth elements of defamation. That's the falsity element, the privileged statement element, and the negligence versus actual malice element. So let's start with that last one. So generally speaking, Bricks and Minifigs and all of those individual plaintiffs that are on that side of this lawsuit are likely to be considered private citizens. Right. That means that under normal circumstances, they would only need to show that Reckless Ben was negligent in making the false statements about them. In other words, he wasn't as careful as he should have been in talking about them. However, earlier I said that whether the plaintiff is a private citizen or a public figure is the first question we ask here, but it's not the last. You see, in Utah, that standard can actually switch from negligence, which is easier to prove, to actual malice, which is much harder to prove if the statement that was made falls under a particular privilege that is enumerated under Utah law. And so that brings us to element number 3, the requirement that the statement not be privileged. You see, Utah recognizes conditional privileges for speech on certain important topics. And the Utah Supreme Court has recognized that one of them is called the public interest privilege. Specifically, the court in this case called Siegmiller said the public interest privilege is applicable at least when the public health and safety are involved and when there is a legitimate issue with respect to the functioning of government bodies, officials, or public institutions.
Oh, this is going to bring the police into this, isn't it?
Or with respect to matters involving the expenditure of public funds. What the court means here is that defamation cases where the statement at issue involves a legitimate issue regarding the functioning of our government, public institutions, etc., those definitely fall under this public interest privilege. And, you know, not all cases that have like serious allegations are going to fit into the public interest privilege. After all, in Siegmiller, the Utah Supreme Court ended up not applying the privilege because the defendant's statement was claiming that the plaintiff, a rancher, was abusing horses in a newspaper publication. And the court said, yeah, that's bad, but there just needs to be something more. But, you know, they go on to say super clearly, hey, if there was an allegation of dereliction of duty by law enforcement officers in dealing with cruelty to animals, then we'd have something to talk about and this privilege would apply. So keeping that in mind, let's turn back to the whole Bricks and Minifigs scandal. If all Reckless Ben said was Bricks and Minifigs stole $200,000 worth of Lego sets from an 83-year-old man, that arguably would not be enough to trigger this public interest privilege. But that's not the whole allegation that he's making in these videos. Let's run it back one more time.
This man spent his life collecting what's now known as the world's largest Lego Star Wars collection ever. It's estimated to be worth around $200,000. And then the entire thing got stolen, and the police are actively working with the thieves to cover the entire thing.
And fool.
Oh, Oh.
The plaintiffs here even included the police allegation as one of the allegedly defamatory statements that Ben made against them. As you can see, here are the statements that they say are defamatory. First, there's plaintiffs stole a Lego collection worth approximately $200,000. Then there's plaintiffs steal from old people. And then there's police are actively working with the thieves to cover up the matter. And they also include the statement, plaintiff's CEO was in on this cover up, and also plaintiffs operate a criminal enterprise. And of course,
so they by them including in the complaint, literally on fucking camera, the cop asking him what to do. Yeah, but well, here it is. What she's saying is he might have privilege because in the complaint, it actually brings the cops into it. The police are actively, this is a complaint from Bricks and Minifigs corporate.
Of course, we can't forget the merchandise Ben is selling with the slogan, "We steal from old people." So even just looking at the allegations on their face in this complaint, this is going to fit in really nicely with what the Utah Supreme Court has said is a privilege statement under the public interest privilege. And all of that means that the plaintiff is going to have a very hard time proving that element that requires that the statement isn't privileged. And by the way, it's not like Ben is making this allegation of police cover-up out of nowhere either.
Yeah, they don't. Ben doesn't have to prove that he's not guilty of defamation. Bricks and Minifigs has to prove that he was.
I mean, he has the fact that he got hit with a trespass violation immediately when he walked in and started asking questions. And he also has the knowledge that Brian Menzel also got the same violation when he tried to go in and claim what he says was rightfully his. Then Ben also had the store clerk telling him that her boss made statements about how they could scheme to get Ben arrested after he was kicked out of the store from that initial conversation.
Yeah, all I did was...
So corporate screwed up in their complaint, in their statement in the court papers. They brought the cops into this. They screwed it all up. Again, what is the worst possible thing that we can do to our company?
You know what's really funny is after you left, I got a call from my boss and it was like, how do we get them arrested?
Yep.
How do we get them arrested?
And then Ben does get arrested. So anyway, once a conditional privilege applies here, the whole game changes. The Utah Supreme Court has been super clear about this too. Where the statement falls under a conditional privilege, like the public interest privilege that we just talked about, the plaintiff has to show that the defendant made the statement with actual malice. That's the same brutal standard reserved typically for public figures. And that's really hard to do. For example, let me give you what the United States Supreme Court has said about actual malice for defamation cases. In St. Amant v. Thompson, the court said that if the defendant wasn't aware of the likelihood that he was circulating a false statement, there is no actual malice. Plaintiff loses. The court also said that in order to show actual malice, the plaintiff would need to show that the defendant made the statement with a high degree of awareness of probable falsity. And
okay, so basically, they would have to prove that Ben knew. He doesn't, so it doesn't have to be true even. They have to prove that Ben knew it wasn't true. And it's really hard to prove what somebody knows and doesn't know. You know what I mean? Unless they have some sort of like leaked email from Ben to his people saying, or Ben to Brian saying, oh, we know this isn't true, but we're going to do it anyway. It's going to be incredibly difficult for them to prove this.
And essentially, the court said in order to show actual malice, the plaintiff needed to show sufficient evidence to show that the defendant, in fact, entertained serious doubts as to the truth of this publication. Looking at everything that is known in this whole saga, unless, of course, there is some sort of evidence, some information that isn't known to the public that Reckless Ben has kept behind doors somehow, I simply don't see a way for them to prove actual malice here. So with that, we've got the conditional privilege issue that the plaintiffs have that they probably won't be able to meet their element there. And then we also have this actual malice element that they probably also, in my opinion, won't be able to meet. And so now with this conditional privilege actual malice analysis, you might think this is pretty bad for Bricks and Minifigs. Their defamation claim seems pretty much dead in the water here. But just wait, because the way that I'm looking at this whole situation, it's about to get much, much worse for them.
What? How? Hey, that looked like Bella. I like this. I like this girl. Number one, she puts in timestamps that made it really easy for me to fast forward through I probably should have done it sooner, through all the stuff that we already knew. And she breaks up the timestamps. I like that. Number 2, she's been the only lawyer that has specified Utah statutes and not just general talking points. Do you know what I mean?
You see, Utah has what's called an anti-SLAPP law. SLAPP stands for a strategic litigation against public participation. Basically, it's a lawsuit filed to silence someone for exercising their First Amendment rights. And anti-SLAPP is a law that's designed to protect free speech and kill these silencing lawsuits fast. In Utah, they actually call it the Uniform Public Expression Protection Act, or UPAPA. I'm pretty sure they pronounce it UPAPA. Anyway, the strength of an anti-SLAPP law in any state is going to vary from state to state. Places like California or New York are known to have very strong anti-SLAPP laws. This means that in those states, it's much easier.
As I read that, Joe, I realized my mouth was open.
For a defendant to get a defamation claim dismissed early in the litigation. Then on the other end of the spectrum, you have states where there isn't even an anti-SLAPP law on the books, like Alabama, New Hampshire, the Carolinas, Wisconsin.
They could easily be guilty of a SLAPP violation because they have silenced Ben. Meaning if they don't, I think that they have to prove what we've already established is going to be incredibly difficult to prove in order to not be charged with this SLAPP law.
And some others. In those states, a defendant basically has to rely on essential First Amendment principles to try to argue that it should be dismissed. And as it turns out, Utah actually seems to have a pretty strong anti-SLAPP law that took effect in May 2023. Here's how it works. After a complaint is served on the defendant has 60 days to file what's called a special motion to dismiss. And the second that motion is filed, the whole case freezes, including discovery, until the court makes a decision on this motion. And here's the kicker. You know what kind of speech falls under the protection of this anti-SLAPP law? That would be speech on a matter of public concern. And we just went through a whole analysis under Utah law about matters of public concern. And so the same analysis for a public interest privilege should fit right here to show that, yeah, this is exactly the kind of case where reckless Ben can and probably should file an anti-SLAPP motion. Like By the way, if you need help with a real legal issue in your life, contact us at the Bytes Law Group at bytes.law. We are partnered with firms all across the United States. So if you follow the link in the description below, we can see if we can help find quality legal representation in your jurisdiction. Anyway, as I was saying, so let's walk through how this motion actually plays out for a defendant to get the claim dismissed on an anti-SLAPP motion. It's essentially a two-step process. In step 1, there are basically 2 things that need to happen. First, the defendant has to show that the allegedly defamatory statement is speech that's covered by the anti-SLAPP statute. Like I said a moment ago, everything we talked about earlier regarding the public interest privilege should clear that pretty easily. Anyway, the other thing that has to happen in step 1 is the plaintiff has to fail to show that this case doesn't fall within the scope of the anti-SLAPP law. Then in step 2, the court will dismiss the claim entirely if any one of 3 things happen. One of those is if the plaintiff fails to establish a prima facie case as to each element of the defamation claim. What this means is that the plaintiff has to present the court with enough real evidence that a reasonable jury could rule for them. And remember, because of that conditional privilege, that should now include actual malice. Right. Anyway, the court will also dismiss the claim on the second step if the defendant makes his own showing that the claim should be dismissed on either a basic motion to dismiss standard or a motion for summary judgment standard. Basically, without getting into the weeds there, the defense can also make their own showing that as the complaint is written, the plaintiff can't win. And we've already talked about how the actual malice standard and
I think this defamation suit against Ben might get tossed.
The conditional privilege issue are likely to get in the way of the plaintiffs being able to prove every element of their defamation claims. But there's another big issue here for the plaintiffs that we will get into in just a moment. I first want to mention that the reason that it gets so much worse for the plaintiff if the defense wins on an anti-SLAPP motion is this. If the defendant wins that motion, the court must award them their reasonable attorney's fees. Court costs, fees, litigation expenses.
That means that Bricks and Minifig would have to pay for all of Ben's court expenses, whether it's lawyers or anything else.
All of it is mandatory. Now, that wouldn't cover all attorney's fees that the defense needs to pay in this litigation unless the entire lawsuit got dismissed under an anti-SLAPP motion. But at the very least, as to the 2 defamation claims, regular defamation and defamation per se, and probably the false light claim too, Reckless Ben could force Bricks Minifigs to pay for whatever it costs him to get those claims dismissed. Okay, so here's where we finally talk about where I think that the Bricks and Minifigs CEO just put a nail in the coffin in all of these defamation claims. Recently, he sat down with Fox 5 in Washington, D.C. This surely is part of what appears to be his press tour to win back the public. And look, I get the instinct. The backlash has been absolutely brutal. Justified in my opinion, but brutal nonetheless. But I do still think that this laser sharp focus on the court of public opinion is probably underestimating just how much damage this can do to the legal case. Anyway, here's one of McNeff's latest pleas to the public as to why he's not the bad guy here.
However, unfortunately, we had a franchisee go rogue and enter into a consignment agreement without our knowledge or authorization.
So he pins the whole consignment mess on the former franchisee, Crystal. I already talked in the last video on this controversy why I think this claim of unauthorized consignment agreements is a really weak argument. And the Gormans will probably also have plenty to say about that themselves in their own lawsuit against Bricks and Minifigs over the store takeover. But here's the thing. I don't think this finger pointing is going to get McNeff too far here, because watch what he admits next.
And in the shuffle, there appears to have been just some confusion as to how, why, and where, like some of this came about. And as we tried to figure that out, we started uncovering more documents, more information. And what we found was that there were 3 separate sets of records that were being kept that shows that Mr. Mansell was significantly underpaid by that former franchisee. And so,
which is what Ben said. Therefore, there cannot be malice if there was some truth to it, right? That's exactly, he just basically said, yes, there are some that he wasn't paid for, but which would mean that they were stolen. And that it proves Ben's entire case, you guys.
We've been trying to make sure that we can properly do like a forensic accounting and make sure everything is being looked at properly so that we can work together to get that family resolution.
Did you catch that? He just said Mr. Mansell was significantly underpaid for what was sold out of his collection. And to show he didn't stutter, he basically repeated that admission later in this interview.
There's a couple terms I want to get into.
Does this kid work for Fox 5 in Washington? This is a kid. Are local news channels going YouTube on us? What's going on?
That the franchisee agreement was not honored. Does that...
He's got some dirt on his lip. Look at him.
I mean, you're saying Mr. Mansell was underpaid by the franchisee?
From what we can tell, yes. The documentation that we've been able to pull out from a couple of different sources indicates that more sets were sold than were reported to him, and from that unauthorized consignment agreement, but that the overall payments to him did not match what had been sold through the store under the previous franchise.
He even offered to make the Mansells whole on this whole debacle.
Say make whole. Will that include saying, hey, 780 sets, 1,200 minifigs, we're going to tell you what we have where, we're going to tell you what we think was sold. Does that come with making him whole?
Yes. Yep. Being able to show all the documents, and if he was, again, as we believe through the documentation, not paid the way that he should have been, then we would cover the difference.
And, to a person who isn't all that familiar with the details of what Brian Mansell has gone through and what Reckless Ben is now going through, this might sound fairly reasonable. But
here's the problem. Everybody who plays with Legos, or everybody who collects Legos, or anybody who watches YouTube knows about this now and knows the details and know that he's full of shit. So he just went and he stabbed his own lawsuit in the foot.
But here's why what he's saying here has some potential legal ramifications. To explain that, we're going to talk about that final element of defamation that we haven't really gotten into all that much yet. Specifically, I'm talking about the plaintiff's requirement to prove that the statement that the defendant made is false. Because remember, if the defense can show that the statements at issue are substantially true, that is a complete defense to defamation. And let's go back to what these statements generally are. Reckless Ben's claim here is that Bricks and Minifigs stole the Mansell's Lego collection by taking custody of them and then refusing to give them back or pay him for those items. And he said that the store, Bricks and Minifigs Corporate, the local police, and all of the individuals that make up those entities are in on it. At the heart of all of these claims is that someone at Bricks and Minifigs stole from the Mansells. And do you know what it's called when someone refuses to pay you what you're owed when you demand payment? Lawyers might call it conversion or breach of contract or unjust enrichment. But in plain colloquial English, regular people typically call it one thing: theft. So here we have the CEO of Bricks and Minifigs on camera admitting that
talking to a kid with needs some acne cream. What's going on? This kid should be in school. Stay in school, kids. Stay in school. And
gentlemen, what brings me to my next point: don't smoke crack.
Someone operating under the Bricks and Minifigs branding significantly underpaid the Mansells. Now, Reckless Ben may have been somewhat imprecise about who specifically is responsible for that alleged theft. But remember, he doesn't have to be right on all the tiny details. The statement just has to be substantially true. And here's another thing. Ben and the Mansells are outsiders to this business structure. They couldn't possibly be expected to know exactly who sold or pocketed which Lego set and how these various entities interact with one another specifically. And that's especially when they're completely stonewalled when asking questions by every single level of Bricks and Minifigs every step of the way. And here's more specifically why I think this particular statement in this interview is such a bad thing for Bricks and Minifigs. You see, in their complaint, they do actually make this allegation that the Gormans significantly underpaid Mansell anyway, which means on the face of this complaint, Bricks and Minifigs already has a huge issue with proving falsity of the statement if they're even alleging themselves that the Mansells were underpaid. They were allegedly underpaid by the Gormans, but still this is people operating under the Bricks and Minifigs branding. Now, of course, they try to wash their own hands of it by saying the consignment arrangement wasn't approved and wasn't permitted. But even without going into that argument, again, take a step back, and the people the plaintiffs are pointing a finger at are Bricks and Minifigs people. But even though they still arguably made this admission in the complaint already, here's why I think this interview makes it so much worse. You see, when it comes to filing a pleading in court, you can file something like a complaint, serve it on the other side, and then suddenly realize a day or a week later that you made a huge goof that you want to correct. Not all things can be corrected, but if Bricks and Minifigs decided to take out these allegations about the Gormans being the ones who stiffed the Mansells, they probably could, especially if it's at an early stage in the litigation. But you know what can't be redone? An interview like this. By going on this obsessive PR campaign and doing these interviews, McNiff just locked himself into this admission that someone at Bricks and Minifigs stole from the Mansells. This means that if he is ever put on a witness stand, he can be cross-examined about it. He can compare his...
He's done that several times. He's stated this. We've seen it time and time again where he's stated this. What's up, Guinea?
Statements to the allegations here and et cetera, et cetera. And because of that, he just made it so much easier for Reckless Ben to show, even before this ever gets to trial, in an anti-slap motion, that all of his statements at issue are actually substantially true. And so if the judge agrees with how I'm reading this with regards to the anti-slap motion, Bricks and Minifigs could be on the hook for all of Ben's attorney's fees on this issue. And also, riddle me this, Batman. What do we think is going to happen to the Bricks and Minifigs PR campaign if a judge decides that not only should this lawsuit be dismissed under Utah's anti-slap law, but that the reason it should be dismissed is because, well, everything Reckless Ben accused Bricks and Minifigs of doing was substantially true? In my personal opinion, getting that conclusion from a judge would be devastating to Bricks and Minifigs. And it's just one reason why I personally think they never should have filed this lawsuit in the first place.
One reason. There's at least a dozen reasons why they never should have filed the lawsuit.
I've made a huge mistake.
But those are my thoughts. What do you think? I know this was a major deep dive into the weeds on defamation.
I like her, you guys. I like her a lot. Am I subscribed to her? No, I'm going to be now. That's all I have for you guys here today. Lisa's probably watching on TV, relaxing on the couch, as I would be. I would be watching this on my couch, and that's what this morning show is all about. You guys, make sure you hit that join the Discord so you can send me any suggestions on anything that we should talk about. I got a couple of things that I'm working on tomorrow. We're gonna go over a conspiracy theory tomorrow. She very well could have. I would be. And Rex just got here. What's up? Join the Discord. In fact, I'm going to put a poll up on the Discord. I have a couple of ideas for conspiracy theories tomorrow, and see which one you guys see which one you guys want me to cover. And other than that, thanks for hanging out. I will see you guys tomorrow. There she is. Bye, guys. Have a great rest of your day.
Have a seat right there. Let me tell you a story about a tiny little channel with a little hope for glory. He streams all night and it spins all day. His name is Scott Von Locke, and he's here to say, like, subscribe, and get notified. Nacho Cast presents, share it with your friends. We'll start it out with 10, is now 100 strong. You could be the next one to move this thing along. He streams all night, and it spins all day. His name is Scott Von Locke, and he's here to say, like, subscribe, and get notified. Nacho Cast presents.